Gordon Gust, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
We're here in a chapel in Las Vegas. Tell us the name of this establishment and what exactly you do here.
This is the Candlelight Wedding Chapel, and I'm the proprietor.
What does that involve? What do you have to do?
Oh, I just kind of oversee. I own the business, so I oversee everything that's going on. I've been doing it for the last 23 years, and just make sure that employees show up and make sure that the customers are treated right, do a little PR work with them, and as well as the people that refer weddings to us.
Now, the customers here are people who want to get married and get married fast. Is that right?
Some want to get married fast, some want to do it the traditional way, but we're here to accommodate whatever they'd like to do.
How did you get the idea for this business, and when did you get started?
Well, I moved here in '69, and I really didn't get into this till '73, but I saw the wedding chapels. I was in a couple other businesses that was in direct sales, not exactly this type of thing. And I sold those and saw the chapels, and I saw an ad in the paper. I didn't realize it was a wedding chapel. It was in big black letters that said, "Wanted, sophisticated salesman." I thought, what could that be, you know? So I came down, it was at this chapel, and a gentleman interviewed me for several days in a row, and then he gave me a job working with him for about 3 months, and then someone else took over, and I worked for him for 3 years, and then I had a chance to get into the business.
Now, do you actually perform weddings?
No, we have ordained ministers that do the weddings.
But you studied to be in the ministry yourself and
Yes.
decided not to?
Yes, I decided, well, I guess I just didn't get back to it. It's in some times I wish I would have gone ahead with it. But I got into this, and it took up a lot of my time, and I really didn't want to get involved. Unless I actually finished the ministry, I didn't really want to do the weddings. I felt I would leave that up to the ministers.
How does a minister get ordained or become able to do these kind of weddings?
Okay, they have to have a church, a minister that has a church. Now, Las Vegas is a little bit different than other states. There, if you're a minister and you have your license, you can go ahead and do weddings. In Nevada, you have to apply with the Secretary's office and get a special permit to do weddings because it is such a big business in Las Vegas. They want to make sure that the people that are doing the weddings are qualified to do them.
So I couldn't just come into town and say I want to be a minister and do weddings. You really have to have a church. You have to be certified. And
you have to have a church holding meetings in a legitimate church, and then you have to, yes, be certified.
Now, in a typical day, how many weddings take place here?
Oh, on an average day like today, we'll probably do around 25 weddings. Fridays we'll do between 30 to 50, 75 or 80 on a Saturday, and then another 40 or 50 on Sunday.
How many minutes does an average wedding take?
Well, we have ministers that are on call for an 8-hour shift, and
so it's 24 hours.
Yeah, we're open 24 hours. Mm-hmm.
Is there a certain time of day, midnight, or have most weddings?
Well, it's usually in the afternoon. Depending in the summertime, it's mostly in the evenings. Like from 4 or 5 o'clock on till about midnight because it's cooler. But you never know, because one day you might do 30 after 4 o'clock, and the next day they might do 30 before noon. So it's just you don't know what's going to happen.
You've had some famous stars who have come to town and been married here. Can you tell us about some of them?
We've had Bette Midler, Whoopi Goldberg, Patty Duke, Michael Caine, the Lone Ranger. We've had Kurt Rambis of the Lakers, Larry Little, I think he was a best man for a wedding, Mary Wilson of the Supremes, just to name a few. There's been quite a few of them.
I saw an ad for one of your competitors where Michael Jordan had been married. Now, why, if you can just for a moment put our minds inside Michael Jordan's, why would he want to come to Las Vegas and get married when he has all the wealth he has? He can get married anywhere he wants to. Why would he come here?
Well, Las Vegas is kind of unique, It seems like a lot of the stars want to come out here and get married. When Bette Midler got married here, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and she just wanted to get away from the Hollywood scene. She didn't want all the people following her. Same thing with when the Lone Ranger got married. He said, "You can put our picture up." He said, "But I don't want you to give it to anybody or to the press or anything because they'll drive me crazy." So they wanted to come in and have it private, and Bette did it about 3 o'clock in the morning. We asked her if we could have her pictured? She said, yeah, you can put it on your wall, but I don't want anybody, selling it, because we do have a lot of people from different magazines and stuff that would like to get their hands on it. And if they don't want us to, we honor that. And therefore, they refer other stars that come back.
Because they know you'll be private.
That we'll keep it in private. At one of the other chapels, I have the Little Church of the West. We've had Dudley Moore and some of the old timers like Robert Goulet and Judy Garland, Harry James and Betty Grable, out there.
Now, do these weddings last?
That's a good question. I know that Lone Ranger's still married. I know that Bette Midler's still married. I guess the average in the United States is 50% of the weddings are divorces. And I notice a lot of the licenses I look at, people have been married 1 or 2 or 3 times. But the ministers that we have here, if we have the time, a lot of times we'll sit down and talk to some of the people a little bit before they get married. Can't do that in every case, but sometimes we do.
How much time do you have to counsel, and what kind of things do you counsel if you have time to talk to them?
Well, just ask them if the biblical principles, if the people ask for it, we'll sit down and talk to them. I don't, the ministers do. Most of the time it's really hard because people are in a hurry. They come here, and the reason they didn't go through several reasons. We had a gentleman from California that had 9 daughters, and he had 2 daughters married in the church, and he said after $50,000 and half of my head turned gray, he said he brought 6 of the other 7 up here, and it cost him $200 or $300. It's private. I could choose it the way I wanted to. I could invite the people I want to, and so it's really is Las Vegas wedding scene is really a popular way to get married, not only with them but with the movie stars as well.
So the fellow had 9 kids. In America, the tradition is for the bride's father to pay for the wedding. So
yes.
that was
and that was part of it. Yeah, he said, but the relatives are about ready to drive him crazy too.
What other motivations do you see for people that come here to get married?
Well, Las Vegas is also the honeymoon capital of the world, so a lot of times people come here and they can have it private, choose it the way they want, and then they can kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. They can go right out and have their honeymoon right outside the door,
I mean, do you think people just kind of come to town just to have a good time, and while they're here they say, hey, let's get married? Is it something that casual? That people...
Not in every case. I think that happens. We had a couple that met up here at a little lounge called the Pepper Mill at around 2 o'clock in the morning, and they got married here at 7 o'clock in the morning. They knew each other 5 hours, and I think he was around 20 and she was 18. But about 3 or 4 years later, they came back. They had a little girl, 2 years old, and they brought another couple from Michigan, and they stood up for their wedding. So that lasted. I'm sure that's not in every case. I know there was another case where we had a gentleman that he had lived with this girl for 3 or 4 years, and they got married, and it lasted 6 months. So, it's you never know.
You never know. There's sort of 2 theories on getting married. One is you put 2 cold eggs on a hot stove and they sizzle, and then the other is you have 2 hot eggs and they get cold. Which do you subscribe to, and would you recommend, like, for your own kids to get married in a situation like this?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. If they chose their own minister where we go to church and they wanted to have a private ceremony in the chapel, I wouldn't be against it at all, because it's just you and your invited guests, and I think you can have a lot of people think, well, gee, the chapel, God's not going to be there, but I think God is wherever you want him to be, and he would be in a chapel ceremony as well as if you were at the church.
Tell us a little bit about your family.
Okay, I have a wife of 27 years. I have 3 children, 2 daughters and a son. I have a daughter that's 19, a son 15, and another daughter that's going to be 9 this month.
Now, if one of your daughters or your son came and said, I want to get married in the chapel to a guy I've known for a couple of days, what would you think? Would that be difficult for you?
I think we'd have a serious talk. If it was a couple of days.
So the location is fine, you just wouldn't approve of the duration of time they've known each other.
No, I think marriage, a problem with America today is people really don't take it serious. They think, man, I met this guy or I met this girl and we hit it off, and before they get to know each other, I think a real healthy relationship is one that grows with time, and I don't think it's anything you need to jump into because it's something you want to last. I think it's the backbone of America is our families, and I think the reason families are breaking up is problems we have today. So I really think that they should take some time. You got plenty of time.
Did you think you'd ever be doing this when you were a kid? Is this what you sort of thought you'd be doing someday, or how did you get into this exactly?
I never knew it existed when I was a kid, but as I was saying to one of my friends, thinking about driving up and down the strip and seeing all the wedding chapels, and never in the back of my mind dreamed, and I used to drive by here quite a bit, that I would, end up owning the place. And it just happened. I had a couple other businesses and for about 3 or 4 years, and I got tired of that, so I sold it.
Were you from Las Vegas originally?
No, I'm from South Dakota. So I was in the Air Force for 4 years, and the last 2 years I spent in Alaska, and my roommate was from here. I was going to move to California, where I was stationed also for a couple of years, and he talked me into coming here, and never left.
How is life different from South Dakota? And what do your relatives in South Dakota think of what you do?
Oh, they think it's great. It's a quiet little town, only about 12,000 people. And I grew up on a farm, actually outside of the town. And to them, Las Vegas is, wow, Las Vegas, and then they see the wedding chapels, they think it's pretty neat.
Have you had any relatives being married here?
Yes, I have had cousins married here.
Why is Las Vegas so attractive for people who want to get married? What are the laws like here that are different?
Well, it's the honeymoon capital of the world, for one thing. A lot of people come here because after they get married for their honeymoon, this way they can come to Las Vegas. The wedding chapels provide everything for them, and even things that they may have forgotten or they get too nervous to think about, we usually can provide it for them. As far as the laws are concerned, there's no blood test or waiting period in Nevada. They just have to both prove that they're 18 years of age, and they have to sign and swear that they're not legally married to someone else. If they're under 18 years of age to the age of 16, they have to have either notarized parental consent or a parent with them to sign.
So in most states there's a blood test, and the waiting period is how long?
I'm not sure. Different states are different, they have different laws. And I'm not sure if all the states have blood tests, but it's a little bit more difficult. In Las Vegas, since the early 1900s, I was looking back at somebody had a paper back in 1901. There was like 5 people married for that year. Then the next year, 11, and started going on up to where last year there was right around 100,000 people came just through Clark County. And Washoe County, I think, was another 40, 50,000. So
you have to be at least 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You can't come in if you're 14, 15 and get married.
No, you have to have.
Circumstances.
Well, if you're under that age, you have to have your parents, and you have to go before a judge, and he has to decide, and they can get a court order. That doesn't happen too often, but once in a while, depending on the circumstances, they can go through a judge.
How long does the ceremony generally take? What's the range of time?
Well, sometimes we have some people who want to come in and just say, we just want to say, will you put the ring on my finger, and will you say, do you take her? And they can last 4 or 5 minutes, to where we have a traditional wedding that can take a half hour or so, where they have bridesmaids and the father gives the bride away, and they have ring bearers and the flower girl and that type of thing.
Are there any circumstances you can think of where you or the minister would say, sorry, we can't marry you?
Sure. If somebody comes here and they're inebriated, we won't.
They're drunk.
Yeah, they won't marry them. No.
How do you judge that? Do you have a breathalyzer, or do you just?
Well, you can tell by the way they're acting, and if they're acting rowdy and not conducive to somebody that should be getting married, then we just tell them to think about it a while.
Anything else?
I suppose if they had their license and they were knocking each other around out front, we'd probably say, think about it too.
They're already fighting.
Yeah.
Have you ever had 2 members of the same sex come in and want to get married? And what do you do in a situation like that?
We've had people inquire about that, but in the state of Nevada, they don't issue a license to them, so there's nothing we can do about it anyway.
I know you belong to a church. Are there any friends that you have that are, say, a little more traditionalist, that aren't crazy about what you're doing, and maybe you might say they don't agree with you or anything like that?
I've had some people say, because they feel like maybe people should be counseled with a little more, and they've thought whether it was a right kind of business, because people come in that have been married 2 or 3 times, that type of thing. But we feel like we provide a service. The people are going to get married, and they've chosen to do that. So as long as they feel like it's the right thing in their life, we'll go ahead and do the wedding.
What is important about marriage? What do you think? Why are you involved in this business? You must have your own, philosophical reasons for.
Well, I think marriage is kind of a sacred thing. It's something that that God planned for, man to have a partner. And it's neat to see the different people that come in here and see the looks on their faces and watch them down front. I used to, when I first started here, I used to sit in the back and cry as much as the bride did, watching them get married. And I still, there's some of them that, after you've seen thousands and thousands of them, there's still times that I find myself getting a little bit emotional over it. And it's just everybody's different, and it's just fun. It's a fun business to be in because it's happy.
You must have seen some funny things happen over the years. Are there any stories that you could tell us of different incidents?
Yeah, we had a Marine come in here one time that was decorated and had several Purple Hearts. Was taking his vows here, and they were about halfway through, and it looked like somebody had sprayed him with a hose. The water was just dripping off him. Finally, he had to sit down because he was going to pass out. So he sat down for a while, and they finally finished the ceremony on one of the pews. And he says, I've been shot at, I've been in hand-to-hand combat, and I've never been this nervous in my life, Then we had another case where two people came in, and they were high school sweethearts, and the groom was 88, and his bride was 85, and both their spouses had passed away, and they decided to get married. And he come in to get the flowers and went to sign for the wedding. He goes, "Oh my God, this is for a lifetime, isn't it?" And it's just, you get, kind of neat things like that. And then we've had tumblers from England, or the Arab acrobats, and the groom stood down front, and she stood back there, and she did the somersaults all the way down, lit in his arm, and they took their vows that way. So you have people that have different requests,
And what is the cost range for a wedding?
Well, we have a basic brochure, which I'll show you, but basically it's $55 for the use of the chapel, and then we have flowers and pictures and videos and live music or recorded music, and we also have packages where we put different things in. So the packages start at $169 and on up.
$55 including the minister?
No, the ministers work separate for a donation, and I think the ministers, the donation around is around $40.
Now, so you're saying you could actually bring your own minister in?
Sure. Yes.
Do people do that?
Yes, we have people that come in and bring the minister from the church to do the weddings, and we allow that. Sure.
This is very inexpensive.
It is very inexpensive. Like I was telling you about the gentleman with the daughters, he spent something like $15,000 a piece or more for each of his daughters, and he came up here and spent $350 for the others, and they had all the flowers and pictures and everything that you could possibly want.
Now, you own 3 wedding chapels like this one. How many are there in the Las Vegas area?
It has to be somewhere in the neighborhood between 40 and 50 now.
And how are the hotel expansions going to be affecting that? Are the hotels trying to get in this business too?
Most of the hotels are starting to put wedding chapels into the hotel, and of course the hotels have everything there, the rooms and that type of thing. But a lot of people still like freestanding wedding chapel. They don't like to go through the casino atmosphere, and to see a freestanding chapel that looks like a church is very appealing to a lot of people. So we're still doing quite well.
Now, you've been married for 27 years.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever have any advice for people coming in here on how to stay together?
Well, you got to listen. You got to really sit down and listen to what the other person has to say, and a lot of times you have to bite your bottom lip, and even though you don't want to, But I guess it's basically trying to be a pal with your wife, and a good friend. I think that helps, know what their desires are and what their needs are. Because if you care about them and respect them, I think they'll return it. There's still going to be those times, where you might have to bite your lip several times,
The last 20 or 30 years, we've sort of seen marriage less valued as an institution. A lot of people living together, and young people say, just a piece of paper. Why do you think it's important? Is it important?
Yeah, I think it's the structure, the backbone of America is the families. And I think because of the breakdown of the families, you see all the crime and all the juveniles, the kids, that are killing each other now, and which you never had 30, 40 years ago, because the family was the number one and most important thing, and the family put God first. And now it's whatever is the best for me and whatever feels good, and this is the way they do it. And I think people really let their morals slip and what really means the most.
Do you see other states getting involved in this business, maybe loosening up their laws?
I think some of them probably will. I don't think they'll probably ever compete with what comes to Las Vegas, because Las Vegas is, it's one of a kind, like Washington, D.C., it's just one of a kind.
I guess the question now is, where were you married? And if you had to do over again, would you come here?
Well, I probably would if this was available to me, but I just got out of the Air Force, and I was in Alaska, and I got married in my local church that I was attending up there before I ever knew that wedding chapels existed.
Now you have 3 of these chapels.
Mm-hmm.
What is your day-to-day activity like? Do you go back and forth? Do you stay one as home base, or keep one as home base?
I go in and out of all of them. I have a partner in one of the others that spends a lot of time up there, but I'm in and out, and there's daily things that you have to do to the office to sign the checks and to make sure that everything's running okay. I have a manager that helps me also, but I like to keep my fingers on things and see what's happening.
You think you'll stay in this business for a long time, or are you looking to retire or expand?
Well, probably looking more to retiring here and spending more time with the younger kids before they leave home.
Now you have 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think any of them will follow in your footsteps and take over the business from Dad?
Oh, they've talked about it, but I've encouraged them to go on to college and go into the things they were interested in. My son was talking about being a minister, and I want to encourage him to do that.
A minister, like a wedding chapel minister? Or?
No, get into the ministry and have a church. He's even talked about missionary work. My daughter is interested in sharks. That's her first love. So she's studying marine biology, and the little one, she's still into bubble gum,
Gordon, thanks for your time today.
Okay, my pleasure.